It's getting really late in the season now. Let's say your corn's really big, maybe it's at tassel, and then you see a bunch of weeds out there. Should you do something for control? And if so, what are you going to use?
The game has been changed as soon as we had a big-time resistance problem. I remember as a kid, if we had a few cocklebur, for example, that got loose late in the season, Dad would say, you know what, it's not worth it at this point. It's not going to hurt this year's yield. That's just a few more weeds we'll have to kill next year. And maybe that meant Brian and I walking the soybean field one extra time. It wasn't that big a deal. But now with resistant weeds, you let a few water hemp or Palmer pigweed go, you may have a million new weeds out in the field that you wouldn't have had before, and they're all resistant to some of the toughest herbicides you've got. So it has changed how we look at late season escapes.
I don't think it's changed it at all, because once you get past a foot tall corn and you've kept that corn weed free in that first foot, after that point, studies have shown weeds are not going to hurt your yield this year. To Darren's point though, and he makes a great point, hey, if you let those weeds go to seed, you're going to have a lot more problem in the future. But is it worth going out there? Because you have to basically wait until brown silk, and then you could go out with maybe some 2,4-D. Well, number one, you've got potential drift issue to all the sensitive crops. And two, how about some of these weeds that are out there, have they already made seed? Because going to spray them when the seeds are already viable, that's not going to do you any good anyway. So there's a period there where you can't spray your corn with really anything. And during that time, that's when a lot of these seed heads can be formed. And I don't know, I mean, we've never gone in and drop nozzled anything after brown silk. I don't ever plan to. If there are some weeds, I'm probably just going to let them go to seed. And that absolutely, again, like Darren said, could be a mistake, but that's what I will probably do on our farm.
Okay, two things I want to talk about: seed viability and Roundup. First of all, Brian made the comment, if they've already got viable seed out there, you're too late. But the question is, well, that seed head is not completely developed. What if I get out there right now? Plants have one job, and that's to reproduce. That's it. So if you do kill a weed and it's getting a little bit late and the seed is almost made, my money is on that plant. I think the plant's going to somehow get it done, that it's going to make seed. I'll give you an example, like dandelions, for example. You may pull a dandelion plant and you say, well, the flower is still yellow. It hasn't made any of that cotton that's going to be seed that blows around. You pull that weed, what happens? Watch it. You lay it on the ground, and within a couple of days, it's cotton and it's kicking some seeds out. I think the same thing happens in our fields. We just spray and hope that everything goes away, and many times we don't want to go back and look. I think if seed's on there, chances are some of it at least is going to be viable. Now, the last point I wanted to make is Roundup. We get a lot of questions about, well, okay, you talk about 2,4-D and I'm worried about drift. What about Roundup? I've got Roundup ready corn. Can I spray Roundup late? The answer is no. You have to follow the label. And what happens is, if you spray over the top of corn, even corn that's as tall as the corn I'm standing in here, you're really pushing it. You're going to get a lot of that product that moves right down into the whorl, and you could see some issues. We've seen it in the past with off-label Roundup applications. It's trouble. I know at the university level, there's been a lot of trial work done. They've tried spraying it at different stages just to see what happens. It often hurts yield if you push it too late in the season.
The reason why we're talking about this today is you've got to learn from your mistakes. If you have a bunch of late season weeds, I'm not suggesting you spray. You can if you use the right product and it's labeled. But what I'm suggesting is use better pre-emerge herbicides in the future. We've made some mistakes on our farm, let some late season weeds go. We just said the next year, this isn't happening again. We're doing a better job with our pre's.
Well, one of those weeds that may tempt you to spray late is our Weed of the Week. We'll show you how to stop it coming up next.